all first responders, emergency services across the board. So anybody showing up to a 911 call, yeah, like somebody in 3 to 5 years now across the board, it's going to differ on the call volume and areas, but across the board, they did a national study. And in 3 to 5 years now, people will see more than people did an entire career over decades, previous years ago. Just the increase in accidents, the increase in violence, I guess, studies are just a lot more going on, especially the mental health crisis. I would say there's a lot more suicides. So there's just a whole lot more trauma that these first responders are being exposed to at a significantly increased level than it used to be.
And when I talk to people about this, it's like, you talk about combat veterans, and they're like, oh, I totally get that. And I'm like, and a lot of times what's the worst is our first responders, and they look at me kind of funny. And I'm like, well, who do you think sees all the car wrecks? Who do you think fishes the 4-year-old kids out of pools? Like, who do you think sees the gunshot wounds and the burned bodies? And so like our first responders put themselves between that trauma and us for us. And so that's kind of one of those things. And we start explaining, people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Like I have a whole new respect for the firefighters and the police officers and things like that in my area. And, it's true. Like, we pull up to a wreck, if you're driving by a wreck and there's the cops and the firefighters out there, like everybody looks, because we don't really want to see mangled bodies, but that's what you're looking for. And you guys have to see it and clean it up and move these guys around and, tell them they're going to be fine when they're not. Like there's a lot of really, really bad stuff that you guys have to deal with. So, that's one of the reasons I was like, we got to include you guys in the charity. So, so when it was, you saw that stuff, real quick, if we can recap kind of how your life was as far as what PTSD felt like and what it was doing to you and to your family, just a little bit. So kind of run through that for us a little bit.
Yeah. I've always been kind of a, very type A guy. And I figured that was just the mindset you needed. And I've been doing that more than half my life now, the majority of my life and my entire adult life. So it really was my identity. And second generation public safety as well. My dad was in law enforcement, so it's kind of all I've ever known. And I grew up around a lot of trauma and a lot of chaos where I was. So now I'm looking back with what I've learned, the treatment I went through, like how early it probably really started and all the contributing factors. But it basically escalated to the point where I thought I had pretty bad ADD. That just was my assumption for the longest time. Really easy to be irritable, distracted. I just thought I had a temper and a lack of patience, but I cared about people, wanted to help them, right? So almost like an oxymoron, very, very conflicted there. It didn't really make sense. Really, really bad insomnia.